Hey guys, and welcome to your video critique for the final. It's me, Colin, once again. How's it going? Just wanted to say up top that I thought y'all did a great job, and I enjoyed having you in class. So yeah, just wanted to say hi and thank you for all your hard work. So without further ado, let's jump into the actual assignment here. Alright, that guy's gone. So now let's get down to brass tacks. So this time around we're going to be looking at Dorothy's work, at Stephanie's work, at Betty Jo's work, and at Chloe's work. So let's start off with Dorothy. And yeah, I'm going to, we'll do the usual run through. We'll talk about, the images, those images, which are most successful, whatnot. And then, I'll talk briefly about how they go together as a project. But other than that, it's pretty much just going to be the normal critique. So we have some images here. We got some of Dorothy's images. I don't know why this is going so slow. That's why it's going so slow. Okay. So yeah, again, we'll go through them all. And then we'll sort of come back through and talk about what's working and, what can be changed and all that good stuff here. So yeah, I'm finding this kind of interesting, the selective use of color. That's the first kind of big thing that pops out of me, other than this idea of these being, sort of from a different time or place. But, okay. So yeah, let's go up to the top. There it is. Okay. So I feel like a lot of these are pretty successful. I'm kind of liking the texture. Let's actually balance in a little closer and see it. So it's not really like a film grain necessarily. It's more like just a straight up texture, or almost like a canvasy, or like printing on linen or something. Interesting, very interesting. Zoom back out here. So I feel like that goes along fairly well with get out of there. With her subject matter. Definitely sort of another era, you might say. In terms of most successful images, I think this is one of the strongest ones. Let me zoom out here again. I like her outfit. I like the pose. Pretty well composed in terms of, filling the frame, making everything, putting everything compositionally where you want it to be in terms of being visually pleasing. This is actually a nice detail too, with the fact that she's grabbing her skirt there a little bit. And I do like these boards. I tend to, with a portrait like this, prefer, sort of less depth of field, but actually in this I think it works just fine because it serves, it serves as like another layer of texture, sort of visual texture here. I don't know about the emulsion edges. I feel like they're okay. And they're not even on every one of them. I like this, but I wish that you could have maybe zoomed it in or cropped it slightly differently, which is always tough when you're using a framing device like this. Perhaps like a longer lens and take a few steps back. I don't know. But I like this idea quite a bit. I do like framing devices like this a lot because it sort of it makes the viewer aware of the fact that they're a viewer. So like, whereas say an image like the last one, it's pretty easy to imagine just this is you, or like you don't even really respond to it as a viewer. You just see an image and you respond to the content of the image. Whereas this, because you're looking through something, it sort of physically places you there. So like in this one, you get more of an idea of like I'm a person looking into a scene because I'm looking through a fence like that. And yeah, I thought that some of the selective uses of color were really interesting. Um, I think it's okay there. I think it's a lot more successful here actually because it's more subtle. Um, when I first looked at this, I was like, wait, there's color in addition to like the sort of process that she's using. This is a nice portrait. I also like that quite a bit. Yeah. So I would say probably most successful is either this one or the one I was talking about up here, this portrait of her. Those are both pretty nice. Um, as far as least successful, maybe this last one. Um, I think that this image was probably a lot. Uh, I feel like it's maybe getting a little obscured by the effect. I also would like to see this maybe chopped right across here, like make the horizon quite a bit higher in the frame. Um, yeah. But otherwise, nice work, Dorothy. Nice final project. In terms of this as an actual final project, I think it works pretty well. It's definitely all connected on several levels. One of which being sort of a thematic level, right? You have this idea of like I'm going to show this village, sort of. They're all based around that. They're all tied together with the texture, with your approach, with the monochromatic thing. So yeah, it does feel like a fairly tight group of images that feel like they go together. And I think that is definitely a big success right there. All right. So up next, let's look at Stephanie's work. Oops, what happened here?
There it is. Okay. So here are Stephanie's images, and let's have a look at them. So again, we're gonna go through here and sort of check them all out, and then we'll kind of come back again and pick out the most successful, talk about those. And oops, wrong button there. I know how to operate a mouse, I think. Alright. And alright. Oh. There you go. Did it again. You'd think I'd know what I was doing by now. Alright. So, in terms of the most successful, I think, well, oops, darn it. What did you do? This one is pretty good. And this one might be it right there. Yeah, I think probably this or this. Yep. So what do I like here? Great use of depth of field. Lighting's very nice. I like his expression. I like this oops, let me switch away. I like this graphic element here. This railroad track, so. Sometimes you can use sort of an element like that to your advantage. This one, it's not really, I don't feel like it's kind of doing, it's not adding anything, it's not really taking anything away other than, kind of as a setting, but like as a visual element to sort of direct the viewer's eye, I don't know that's doing that much. Going back over to this one, I also like this quite a bit. This is really well composed. It's definitely a kind of a different image. I like this. I mean, this head is right in the right spot. we have all of this coming in. Like, this could very easily feel like sort of wasted space, but it doesn't because of these tree branches. And because, again, it sets up the overall spatial relationships within the image. Yeah, kind of wish that his shoes weren't quite chopped off there, but again, that's being pretty picky. I would say, I think this might be your most successful image. It's definitely your strongest composition, and it's got really great lighting. This one I like a lot for the lighting. I'm actually going to zoom in here. Yeah, it's got some really nice visual textures. There's something about his expression, like his eyes in this, that I find sort of drawing me in a good way. There's something, a lot of times when you see pictures of kids, it's pretty much just the smiling, happy kids. This is not that image. It's kind of going in a different direction. And that's how kids are sometimes. They are smiley, maybe even a lot of times, but this is another side that you just don't really see represented as much. So I definitely like that going on in this image as well. In terms of least successful, maybe this one. I don't mind this pose so much. You can't see his eyes. The light on his face is kind of uneven. It's real. It's kind of hot on this side, pretty dark on that side. Some strange shadows going on there. Yeah, I would say there was another image I wanted to talk about here that I'm trying to find. See, this is an example right here of where the tracks are a little more of a strong visual element. I kind of feel like they're doing more work in the image. I like this quite a bit too, although I wish his head wasn't down. I think this would be a strong candidate for most successful if his chin was up just a little bit and he was looking at the camera. Yeah. So in terms of, this is probably a good one to talk about. In terms of a project, of a group, I would say, well, they definitely all, thematically very similar, right? They're all portraits of this kid, sort of somewhat of a range of moods here. So they definitely have a lot of visual elements in common. This definitely feels more like a photo shoot of him, like sort of a, I guess it is a contact sheet, but it feels more like something that you would look at and potentially whittle down further than it feels like a project with a full range of different things happening. But yeah, you caught some nice moments. You did some really interesting stuff, and yeah, I think overall, pretty interesting work. Okay, so let's look at Betty Jo's images next. And again, I'm just going to go through them quickly, sort of not make too many comments, then come back and sort of pinpoint ones that I want to talk about a little bit further. So yeah, let's just bounce right through these really quickly here. And we will have a little look here. Sorry about that. So there's a few different things happening here that I'm seeing already. Sort of just seeing sort of the idea of nature and ooh, very nicely done. sort of yeah, nature plant theme happening here, and a lot of textures. So let's pop back up to the beginning, and we'll go ahead and do it. So right off the bat, we sort of have two visually similar images. For this, I think I actually like the color one more, which again is kind of strange for me because I tend to, as you guys have heard over the last 5.5, 6 weeks, I tend to prefer the black and white. On this, though, I feel like there is a nice, let me switch to this, a nice thing going on here with complementary colors. You have this nearly magenta on this green background, so it really does make that pop. And just, yeah, so it's a greater degree of contrast because you have the color contrast in addition to the sort of exposure contrast, which I'm liking a lot. Now these were some interesting ones. Sort of had like a really heavy vignette on those. Sort of this kind of makes me think of racking too, like where you do a little slower exposure and you actually zoom your zoom lens so that you get this sort of blurred look. Sometimes you can also get that with a oh shoot, what do they call those things? Well, there's a special kind of lens where you can sort of tilt it all around. It's not a tilt and shift. It's a man, I'm totally blanking on the name of it. I'll have to go and look it up later. But it's sort of this. So it's like a little bit of a shifting gears here. This is almost like a kind of toy camera look, and then you sort of go into like a high-end, real tight look, sort of professional look. And again, we have kind of two similar images. On this, I think I actually like the blue because it feels more like the mood of like this kind of rainstorm we have coming in. This I think is a killer image. I really like this. Composition's really tight. Love the look of the water on the boards. Really great use of color. And the slight reflection, I think that's a really nice one. That may be your nicest one. That's also really tight. I'd say so either the rain one or this one. I really super like your use of depth of field here. And just this as a visual element is really nice. I could see maybe going slightly tighter on this image, not too much, but I do really like what's happening with depth of field here and sort of the visual sort of circular radial pattern that's happening there. Very nicely done. There you go. This I also like. Pretty good use of depth of field, although not quite as good as that last image. This I like too. It's like a little bit of a solarization. And this looks like, I'm trying to think of, is this an orchid? I'm not great with flowers, but I do tend to like some of them. Anyway, I think that this is really nicely done where you have this sort of tight black edge on this. Like, it really makes it kind of like pop in a nice way. And again, good use of depth of field. And there's just a slight bizarreness to this that makes me, and this really dark black edge makes me think solarized. Because a lot of times this is what it looks like if you have like something somewhat black backlit and you have like the edge of it super bright. You get that kind of, and it kind of gets inverted. You get that look. I can't be sure. That looks solarized to me. But a really good use of solarization there. Wow, bright, very bright. Nice use of depth of field again there and visual texture. So I would say those are probably some of your most successful. Least successful, maybe something like that. Or there was another one here that I was thinking. Maybe like that. I mean, I think that this could use a little stronger, like visual like a visual impact. I feel like you have. This feels like to me like the setting of a stage. Like you have a backdrop, but you need like the oops. It's like a stage where the actor hasn't come out yet. So you have like all this backdrop, but you need like something here in the middle to sort of tie all those things together and sort of like give it more focus, I think. In terms of this as a project, I'd say it's pretty tight. I could see you even potentially um, editing out a couple of these and slightly reorganizing it, and you'd have a really pretty tight little project. Like, kind of even you could even start to, you know, go towards even like a kind of a portfolio. So it's visually tied together. It shows a lot of different things that you can do well. So yeah, I mean, I could potentially see like paring this down to 10 or 12 and having, maybe adding a couple other things in and having, you sort of have the skeleton of your portfolio here. But yeah, nicely done, Betty Jo. And then last but certainly not least is Chloe. Oh, no, what happened? Oh, so for whatever reason, hers didn't pop up here. That's okay though, because I have my file folder. So a little bit of peek behind the curtain, so to speak. Seems somehow appropriate after that last thing we were just looking at. Oops, what happened here? Computer's being a little goofy today. Okay. Alright, so let's try this now. Okay, so so we have this guy. Again, briefly just go through them, come back, get the highlights, talk about what can be improved. Oops. Not sure what happened there. So seeing a lot of kind of structural images, a lot of visual texture. I'm digging. Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. Very nicely done. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to go right to here because I like this. Really nicely put together. I want it to be slightly tighter though. I know I'm more saying that to you guys. But I feel like trimming it like to here, down from the top a little bit, and then down like right there would make this a stronger image. I could even see potentially cropping right into the top of that a little bit, because this is like what's interesting. Sort of this balanced with that. It's a super cool brick texture, and a really nice exposure on it that really kind of picks up that look. Yeah, it's like there's like kind of a visual sparseness to it that I'm really digging quite a lot. So that's nice. This is also really nice. This kind of makes me think of the work of, like, say, Robert Frank, who is one of my favorite photographers. If you've not seen his work, Chloe, I would suggest that you look it up. It's Robert Frank. Frank spelled just like the first name. And he has a really influential body of work called The Americans, which is where he went around the United States in the 1950s and made all these photographs of sort of America. I think this would fit right in with that work. This is really, again, you have the kind of the building thing happening. You have this cool graphic element of this, and kind of have these windows that sort of hint at something else going on. Very nicely done. I like this quite a bit. Some nice ones. This is really nice. This is another one that could be just like, I feel like you just want to slightly crop into it just a little bit, just to make it really tight visually. This is really nice. I really like the shadow on the tree here. Quality of light in this one overall is really nice, and pretty much in all of your images, really nice kind of like oh, it kind of, I know, I realize that this was shot now, so it's not going to be that, but it feels like more of like an autumn light, like a. I think part of that is that there's no snow on the ground, but the trees don't have any leaves yet, so you have that sort of autumn dusk light. Even though I know it's like spring dusk or dusk, not dust. This is also nice. I like sort of the various textures. This and a little bit of ivy or whatever growing in the cracks there. So yeah, those are some of the more successful ones. In terms of least successful, ooh, this I also really like. I'd say something similar to that Americans thing. I think one of the most interesting parts of this is like that there was clearly like a building. It looks like there was a building right up against this building that sort of did that thing, and it's gone. But it's kind of like still like it's quote unquote footprint left behind there. That's also really nice. That water tower. I would say least successful. Maybe this. I feel like maybe it lacks some visual focus. Or this. I like this idea. Just not quite sure that it came together here 100%. So, yeah. Alright. Well, ladies, I just wanted to say right at the end here, there's not going to be a word to post, this is the end of the class. But I did want to say that I thought you guys did a lot of great work this semester, or class, whatever. And I wish you all lots of luck and success in the future. And yeah, it's been a pleasure having you in class. So, yeah, have a great time out there and lots of success.